Hi, Mark Hertzler here with Alison and Keay from Unity Homes. We're here at Xyla in Allstead, New Hampshire to talk about HVAC systems.
So HVAC stands for heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. And essentially it's the combination of equipment within the house that makes the indoor environment comfortable.
We design our houses to be all electric so that they can be net zero ready. Net zero ready just means that you're able to produce more electricity through renewable sources than you actually use. So with that in mind, we recommend efficient air source heat pumps for the heating and cooling in our houses. Alison, tell us a little bit about what air source heat pumps are.
So an air source heat pump, the technology within that works a little bit like a refrigerator. So if you think of in your house, the refrigerator is keeping the things inside the refrigerator cool, and it's doing that by taking the heat out of the refrigerator and dumping it to the back of your refrigerator where those coils are, where it's always warm air coming. And so the technology works a lot like that, and that you have an outdoor unit that will take that heat from any temperature air or even low temperature air and transfer it inside.
So that's the heating and cooling portion of the system. The other part of HVAC is the ventilation. Our houses are built very airtight, so we put fresh air ventilation systems in there, and that sort of rounds out the heating and cooling system, the HVAC. Let's go take a closer look at some of the components. This is the outside compressor that captures the heating and cooling for inside the house. So Alison, can you tell us a little bit about what's happening right here?
Yeah, essentially there's a fan that's pulling air across a heat exchanger and transferring that temperature to a set of refrigerant lines that run into the house. Right now, this unit is running. It's very quiet, but we can feel the heat that it's dumping. Some considerations that we think about when we're deciding where to place the outdoor condenser have to do with placement next to indoor living spaces to keep the noise low. They're very quiet units. They can occasionally have some vibration, which is why we also design them to be on their own small concrete pad with a special stand that keeps them up out of the snow as well. We're also thinking about where to put them and where not to put them based on the eave and gable sides. We want to keep it on a gable end so that any eaves are not dumping snow or water onto the units themselves.
All right, great. So let's go inside and check out the rest of the system. We're standing here in the open living portion of this design. That consists of a living room, dining room, and a kitchen. Behind us are the 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms, and then in that direction is the connector that leads to the garage. So typically in a design like this with 3 bedrooms and an open living space, there would be 2 zones. One zone for the space that we're standing in, and then a second zone for the bedrooms. So Alison, tell us a little bit about how the zone that we're standing in is heated and cooled.
So this large open area is heated with what's up here on the wall. It's called a wall-mounted head unit, and that will deliver heated or cooled air through that unit. It also has some really neat controls, like the ability to trace motion and avoid directing the air towards where it senses people. But that's going to be the best way and the most cost-effective way to heat the wide open space.
Good. And then for the bedrooms, there's a couple of options for the bedrooms, correct?
Right. So with bedrooms, you have the option of putting a head unit in the bedrooms, but they may want to have the doors closed. Oftentimes bedroom doors are closed. And so to make sure that those spaces are getting dedicated heating and cooling, there's also the option for using an air handler with ductwork to each of the bedrooms so that they have the dedicated heating and cooling that way.
All right. And pros and cons of the system, you talked about having the bedroom door shut, so the ducted system adds a little bit more comfort. What about cost?
There is more cost when you utilize the additional air handler inside and the ductwork, but it also comes down to comfort. You want to guarantee comfort in those spaces.
Great. And with ducting, there's a couple options there as well. There's a traditional air handler unit, but there's also something called a horizontal ducted unit. And both of those will work?
Yeah, both of those can work. An advantage to the horizontal ductwork would be that it can take up a little bit less room depending on how much room we have in the mechanical space, but it is a more expensive option.
Okay, great. And then how about comfort and setting the temperature? How does that work with an air source heat pump system?
Yeah, good question. So with an air source heat pump, it does work best or most efficiently at a set it and forget it kind of setting. So you would want to leave it to whatever your indoor temperature you'd like that to be, kind of thinking of it as a year-round temperature. And the system does best at kind of maintaining a steady state of temperature. So you really want to set it and forget it, not really touch the controls a lot. If you're leaving for an extended amount of time, you still want to kind of keep it at that steady temperature.
All right, so no more of the traditional turn the thermostat down at night, throw more blankets on, and then in the morning crank it back up. Just keep it even and consistent.
Yeah.
All right, great. Let's take a closer look at the ventilation system next. All right, so this is the fresh air system that's exhausting stale air, bringing in fresh air. Earlier we talked about the heating and cooling system. So are the two working together or are they separate systems?
So you actually have that option. In the case of this unit here, this is a minute air system which has a heat pump and an HRV kind of combined into one unit. So in this case, they're very much working together with the same set of ductwork. But normally our designs will have a separate HRV with its own ductwork and air handler that's needed for any zoning. Will have its separate ductwork as well.
Okay, so separate systems doing two different things, but in the end, they're both adding to the comfort and the quality of the air inside the house.
Yes.
Great.
So in the bathroom, right next to the light switch and controls, there's the fan control. So this is connected to the HRV and has timers built into it for 30 minutes, 20 minutes, and 10 minutes. And simply turning this on will set it for 10 minutes, hitting it again, moves it to 20, and another time we'll move it to 30 minutes. That way we're getting the boost out of the HRV, getting that excess moisture out of here quickly, but also not forgetting and leaving it on, so the timer helps to save energy.
As I mentioned before, we like to have our houses set up as all electric. That way you can go net zero if you want. And not part of the heating and cooling system, but part of the mechanical system is the hot water heater. So we have right here just a standard electric resistance water heater. And they're perfectly fine. They'll work with the system. Another option that you have is a heat pump hot water heater. Works very similar to the heat pump that's cooling the house. It takes the hot air out of the surroundings and then uses it to heat the water. So it's a great system. It's more efficient than electric, uses less electricity. You do, however, have to have enough space for it. Because it's pulling the warm air out of the house and it's exhausting cold air, you need enough space for that air mixing to happen. And works really well in houses with basements. If you have a slab, it can work. With just a few other accommodations that we need to make sure that system works well.
So another area that requires ventilation is the kitchen. Right above the stove, there should be a kitchen range hood providing ventilation for the cooking. We like to see these hoods remain under 300 CFM so that they're not overpowering the level of air tightness and the other ventilation system in the house. So as long as we're under that, we're okay. And we're recommending the all-electric ranges or induction ranges as a way to keep away from fossil fuels and improve that indoor air quality.
So, airtight house, we're trying to control where the air comes in and out at a range. It's more important to get that off-gassing from your cooking out than it is to keep that airtight steel. And that little bit, as long as it's 300 CFMs, doesn't make a big difference. Is that correct?
Right.
Good.
Thanks for watching this video. If you'd like to learn more, please visit our website, unityhomes.com.